You want to tell us your name?
Yeah, my name is Andrew. First name Hurd, Hurd. My last name.
Where you from, Andrew?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I was raised on the west side of Chicago. Been here 46 years. I'm an immigrant from Mississippi, away of the southern area. As I was a kid, I came here to Chicago after my dad passed. So when my dad passed, my mom really got sick afterwards because that was her rock. So she, lost a lot of the support she had through him as being her husband, and she didn't want to live anymore. So she stopped eating, and wanted to die. But she had two sisters that lived here in Chicago, and they didn't want that to happen. So they came down to Mississippi, packed her up, packed us up, and we moved to Chicago and lived with my aunts. It was five boys and one girl. And three of us went with one aunt, and the others went with the other aunt. And we lived, 4 blocks from each other. So we were in a small community off the west side of Chicago around 19th and Kedzie is where it all started for me, you know.
Yes.
Uh, After being here, and getting into the public school system and becoming familiar with Chicago, the fast life that Chicago brings, the lights, because where I was from in the South, we didn't have any lights in the streets. So when it got dark outside, it was dark. No lights. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. So that's how we came up. And I remember as a kid, we had an outhouse. In the back of the house is where we had to go and use the restroom because we didn't have running public, we didn't have running water in the house for the toilets and stuff.
Wow.
So we came up in real hard times, you know. And as a result of that, we learned a lot of values as far as family, sticking together, as far as taking care of one another, and all those things that a close knit family will learn when they don't have all the amenities everybody else got, you know. The embarrassment of not having new clothes when you go to school, the new
Yeah.
year, all of those things we had to go through. But my mom and dad, they made do. They made do with things, because my mom, she knew how to sew, so she made all our clothes basically as a kid coming up. And then the things that as one child got older, the next child below got those clothes and was able to use them until they couldn't use them anymore. The next person came up and was able to
Hmm.
fit them. Then they got those clothes.
Yeah, I
So
know how that goes.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a lot of things that we had, that we, just shared amongst the family and didn't have to go out and buy clothes every year to go to school with because mom, she made a lot of our things that we wore, you know. And coming up as a kid, my dad was a butcher and he was a town's butcher. He worked at the town's biggest store, and he was the butcher. He was the meat man. I remember as a kid him slaughtering cows, slaughtering pigs, slaughtering chickens. I remember him doing this and showing me and teaching me that, you know, take me out hunting, show me how to live off the land and things like that, that people in the city don't get.
That's right.
So they, lack those types of things.
Absolutely.
And so when they are coming up, they don't have that bonding that those things would bring when you're able to go out, live off the land. You don't have to have running water. You don't have to have electricity. You don't have to have those things in order to survive. I'm a living witness of that. I'm 58 years old, and I've been through a lot in my 58 years, right?
Yes, sir.
And when I came to Chicago, I was 6 years old. And being here 52 years, it taught a lot of things that I learned, but I learned it in the street. Because again, my dad passed when I was young. So my mom raised us, And it was 5 boys and 1 girl. So she raised all of us. And she passed away when I was 26. She passed away January 1st, 1995, New Year's Day. So living in that situation, I learned that I have to be able to support myself. Because once mom passed, we didn't have no adults that were like family, that we would, you know, learn from, that we would listen to. Being a boy, we didn't listen to our aunts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She wasn't our mama. And so that's what we would always say. You ain't my mama, can't tell me what to do,
Right.
And as a result, didn't have great relationships with your aunts. You know what I'm saying? And when you don't have great relationships with your aunt, it's hard for you to have great relationships with your cousins. You know what I mean?
Very true.
So, those are the broken things that happen in our lives as as a little boy coming up, and coming from the South, having a dialect of a Southern drawl, that Southern accent.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people here in the city, they didn't understand that part because they associated that talk with being ignorant, less educated, you know, and that was not the case because my sister and my brother were college graduates. And so I had people in the family that were, professional people. And but now, as the years went by, I lost all of it now. So I'm here in the city all by myself now. Because a lot of my cousins, again, when we came up, we didn't have no bond relationship with them because the aunts, we didn't get along with the aunts because the aunts wanted to control us like our mama. And being a boy, it's hard for you to have women to continue to control you in every step you go in your life. You look for some man in the life, but our aunts didn't have husbands. So they had living men that come and live with them, that's what we seen. Man go, one man come, and he leave, another one come, and he leave, another one come, So
Yeah.
it was like that, Nobody really sustained in those relationships with my aunts. And as a result, my mom was the same way. She she never remarried, you know, and brought us here and raised us here the best she could with the help that she could get from the outside sources that she had with family and the resources and stuff. And she was a strong woman because I remember as a little boy, probably 3 or 4 years old, I could remember being in the cotton fields with her. And she would have me as a little baby on her side,
Oh,
on her
wow.
hip.
Wow.
And then she would have me wrapped in a linen, and then she'd have that 100-pound bale of cotton on the other side of her, dragging it through the fields
Wow.
and picking cotton. And that's how we survived off $16 a week, I think it was, she got paid, But that was what we had to do to survive in that environment. But we did, through the help of the Most High blessings. He sustained us and carried us through those hard times.
Absolutely.
Till we got to a point where we could support ourselves and help support the family, you know. So we were blessed in that area. And she always taught us the meaning and the value of hard work, So we were able to accumulate things, you know, and because we were able to accumulate things, we also was able to accumulate a lot of jealousy because when we didn't have things, now we do, and we got an abundance of it. So where we didn't have no car, now it's 5 cars in the driveway, in the parking, in the vacant lot, should I say?
Yeah.
And so we had things, and we were able to accumulate some things. We were able to open up a bar, and we, That's what she did. She opened up a bar and ran that bar like, we were in the cotton fields, and did very well. But as things go, you know, we don't know the behind, you know, forces that work in our lives. We don't
Right.
understand those things. So as I came up and got older and started to venture out into the streets and allowed the streets to teach me, and those streets didn't teach me very good values, very good, things to keep and carry with me through my life. I gravitated towards the negative things.
Did you ever get into any drugs or alcohol?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Prisons, all those things. Because my first experience with the law enforcement was at 16 years old, and they sent me to juvenile, but then I turned 17, and then they put me in adult. You know what I mean? So I had to go through, that as a young guy, being now incarcerated in the system. Because once you get in that system, it's hard to get out of it. Matter of fact, you can never get out of it because
I've
you're
heard that.
marked with convictions for the rest of your life. They
That's right.
never go away. So, coming through all that, I went to prisons. My first prison stint was in 1985, and I had had 3 year sentence. So I did a year and a half inside, and a year and a half outside on parole. So I went through that at a young age, started that prison life because the way they got the system set up now is, you know, from grade school to high school to prison for a lot of, people of color, for a lot of, young men of color in the cities. And coming up on the west side of Chicago is where all the things were exaggerated. Where you might have on the south side 2 dope spots on the block. West side, you got 10. You see? So it's a oversaturated it, and you can't escape it because it's in every direction you go. So I picked up and became an addict.
Are you
Carried
still
that,
currently using?
yeah, yeah.
What's your drug of choice?
Uh, I smoke marijuana and I use heroin, and it has been, you know, should I say, a crutch of mine that I go back to because for a lot of years I didn't use. From 2000 to 2009, I didn't use. Period. I became successful because I started to open my mind up to not wanting to go back to prison and also make something of myself, you know. So I moved out of Chicago and moved to Rockford, Illinois. Got there and was able to secure a job in the automobile industry. Now, mind you, I had just came home from prison
Hmm.
in 2000. In 2001, I was working at the biggest dealership in Rockford called Lou Backrow Auto Mall
Out of Rockford?
out of Rockford. They gave me an opportunity to become a salesman. And I went in it, immersed myself in every way I could. I learned everything I could about the business, and I did well. I became the number one salesperson out of 27 other people. I was the number one. I won all the awards. I made all the most money, all of that. From 2001 to 2008, I was making over $100,000 a year.
Wow, that's a lot of
So,
money back then.
yeah, and it was afforded me to be able to buy a lot of material things because that's where my mind was at, you know. My mind was on materialistic things, you know. And so I gravitated to everything I could as far as materialistic things, you know. And I learned a lot while being in the business. I learned how to become a professional. And when I learned how to become a professional, it changed my thought process because I realized if if I'm gonna be in this type of business, I'm gonna have to learn how to be, you know, of service to people because that's what it's about. It's about being of service to others. If you can put yourself in that situation where you could be of service to others, it will take care of you. And I know that. But like again, I'll wander off the path and do the negative things, you know, because I be hurting inside. And I don't understand, and I didn't know that at the time. But when you're hurting and you can't express yourself enough to alleviate the hurt or, you know, allow it to where you could talk about it. You know what I mean? Where you could experience it and not be, you know, so caught up emotionally where you be mad or, you know, stuff like that. You
Right.
slash out with other things. And as I went through the business and started learning the business, you know, you get this the where you got entitlement. If I'm making this kind of money and I know you got to be making 6 times more than me if you're an owner. So I started thinking, how can I own one of these businesses? How can I own one of these dealerships? And when I started thinking like that, I started doing things to try to get there. But again, there are forces that work behind the scenes that you can't see that manipulates things in your life to keep you at a point where it wants you. Because I had everything going good for me. Everything going, man, dream. Had a beautiful woman. Well, she became my wife. I had a beautiful wife. Had a beautiful home. I
You end
didn't
up
have any
having kids?
kids. Yeah, I don't have any kids. Because again, you know, going through the prison system, after 25 years of going in and out, you ain't got time to make no kids. You know, and if you do make one, you know what I mean, they might not want it.
Yeah.
And again, that's the case. So that's why I don't have any because of abortions. You know, uh, I would have had two had not been abortions. So, and that's another part that you know I have to deal with because that's a hurt that I haven't dealt with, and what keeps me, you know, wanting to go back and hurt myself, you know, with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Because once I was clean, I was into the program of the 12 steps program, and that will help me stay clean, you know, and I not use. And as a result of not using, I became successful. So I'll go off the beaten path again. Every now and then I'll do things to, you know, to hurt me.
So what do you
And
think is preventing you from getting out of your current situation now?
right now it's the drugs.
The
It's the
choice?
drugs, yeah, the drugs. And I know it because again, I've experienced where without it, how I become. Without it, I become there's no limit, you know. There's no ceiling for me because I understand, you know, when I put in the work and I do the things that is required to be successful, I become successful. Because successful people are not successful because they don't want to do the things that successful people do to be successful. And that's why I'm not successful at this point because I'm not willing to do the things that successful people do to stay successful.
And it takes a lot to actually admit that. You
Yeah,
know,
it does, man.
some people live in denial about that. You know,
Yeah,
about that type of about the situation that they're in. You know.
yeah. And you know, as a man of color, man, in America, man, you know, it has been uh an exploratory ride, should I say? Because America was made off the back of the slaves. You see, and America don't want to admit that slavery made America great. They don't want to admit that. But if you got anybody that you can get to work for you and you don't pay them nothing, just say for a whole month, you at your job, they don't pay you when it comes pay time for everybody else, you don't get paid. You get nothing. Now, times that times 400 years of free labor.
I see what you're saying.
That's how America got great, man. And America will never be great again because America will never have slaves again. They want them, but the Most High is not going to allow it.
So what's one thing that you'd say about you hate about being out here?
Well, I don't hate anything really, man. No, I don't.
No,
I don't. Because
that's
I'll
good, man.
turn right around with something that I'll say I hate, and I'll go and help. I'll go and support. So that's not really the hate. That's just choices I'm making.
Choice.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's what my life has been about, choices. Because the choices I've made in my life dictated where I'm at today. You know, I haven't been a good guy. I've done some horrible things in my life. But, as a result, I'm willing to admit now the things that was so horrible that I have done. I'm not afraid no more to admit that, man, hey, I was a bad guy, man. I wasn't one of the guys that you could approach and be okay with it because my mind always told me you was a victim and how I was going to get at you. You see, so in my criminal life, that's how I roll with it. But as going in and out of prisons, man, not being around your family for 5 years, 6 years, it just it just took a toll on me. And then also too, prison ain't all that bad because you get a chance to find you when you're alone and by yourself.
that's right.
So as a result of being there, I found me. I found my purpose. I really did. It's just that I'm hard headed sometimes and stupid a lot of times because I don't want to apply what I know. I'm a graduate from La Cordon Bleu School of Culinary Arts, 110-year school, one of the best in the world. I'm a graduate of Kaskasky College with
Wow.
an associate's degree in culinary arts.
Wow.
I've been in the restaurant business for 15 years. I've bought my own restaurant. And I've been into the industry of the automobile industry for 20 years. I sold cars for 12 of those years. And again, 8 of those years, I was the number one salesperson in the northern Illinois region, period. My name, Andrew Hurd, is at Chrysler, is at Chevrolet, is at all of these BMW, Daimler Chrysler, all of these companies, I worked for in the automobile industry and was recognized as a salesperson in the gold standard of being a salesperson because you have 3 standards. You got silver, you got gold, you got platinum. So I was in the gold standard. In the gold standard, you making over 100,000 a year. Platinum status, you 250 over. So I was around those types of people
Right.
that was making that kind of money and that was commanding, their attention. When you make that kind of money, you know what I mean? What people will give you, they'll give you all the attention you want because they know you got something. You know, me giving out $100 bill was nothing. I would go sometimes in my old neighborhood, see people I've known for years, give them $100 bill. that sets that sets them in such a place where they didn't think nobody cared like that that will give them something like that. But I did that because this is where I'm from. You are the guys who I came up around. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you because of the things that I was able to learn, even though they wasn't all good. But sometimes you can turn some bad things into good.
Absolutely. I
So
believe in that as well.
that's what I've been trying to do here for the last 5 years. I've been living on my own for 5 years now. And again, 3 years ago, I lost all my family. So I'm the only one left in my family, you know. And it gets hard sometimes because I think about it, when you don't have nobody you can call and say, hey, bro, hey, sis, what, you have none of that. So it gets lonely a little bit. But then I realized that, if I if I got faith in man, the Most High has faith in man, and He will use man to come to me and help me in the times when I need help, like today. You, He sent you to do this, what you're doing right now. That's why I'm sitting here. That's why you standing over there, trying to help me to bring my head out of my ass so I can stand up again and be the man that I'm supposed to be.
It's never too late.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, bro, because sometimes I need to hear that, man, from other sources. I can hear it in my mind say it's never too late. You can do it. But hearing it from other people speaking it, it's just something different about it. I think it sticks better, you know what I mean, to me.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you taking your time out to do this, man, because you didn't have to.
Of
You could
course.
have went right on past me, and chose somebody else. So I want to try to bring something to the table, man, that can help us. You know what I mean? And being in the situations I'm in, I can't help because I have a lot of things in my mind that I could use to help me and others. Because I'm not selfish anymore. I'm not. It's all not all about me. Like I said, if I can get into a position where I could be of service to someone, that can help me because it'll sustain me by being in service to somebody else. It takes me out of myself, and I don't be all selfish and me, greedy, not wanting to fellowship or socialize or edify other people, you know. And this is why I know that this work that I must do, it is a mighty work, man. It is a mighty work because he has brought me through so much turmoil, so much negative, so much demonic actions, man. He has brought me, steered me through it all to bring me right here to this point where I'm at right now, where I have to make this decision for the rest of my life. I know I must become clean. I know I must leave all of these things alone that I'm doing. I know this. But like any other kid, when you tell him to stop this, when he's enjoying it, he ain't gonna want to stop it. You know what I mean? He gonna want to keep doing it, and that's what it has done to me. Because for some reason or another, my DNA is set up where I get addicted to things real quick, and when I get addicted, it's kind of like I use that shit as a way to hurt me when I be feeling depressed and down about me. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
I'll run to that shit because I know it ain't no good. But when you in a situation where it's a physical addiction, it's rough than just a mental addiction. You know?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's why, man, I know that he has sustained me throughout this things that I'm going through because I know that there's a work that he got for me. You see, I'm special. For some reason, I am special, man. Let me tell you how much so. Look, bro, I have planes, I have helicopters, I have the whole law enforcement agencies, all of them, from the military to the FBI, surveillance in me 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. They must know where I am at. If they don't know, they'll send the squad cars everywhere in the area I was in until one of them see me. They gotta see me. And I'm not joking. As long as we've been sitting here, 2 helicopters has flew over our head. I don't know if you noticed it. 3 planes has flew over our heads. It's because I'm sitting here. They've already called him and asked him what are they doing in this lot. That's why he came out here. Do you hear that plane above us? It will stay there as long as I'm here. Wherever I move to, it's going to be there. Why? I don't know. But I had so many people to come and tell me, man, you special. You special. You special.
Let me
But
ask you, Andrew, what's one thing that you love about life?
the variety.
Variety.
The variety of things that is involved in life. I love the challenges of facing new things and finding out why it's that way and creating things. I've created a nonprofit organization called Better Men Working, and it's going to be an entrepreneurship training program. And the way I got it set up is you'll live in house. You'll be screened in the beginning in the screening process, and we'll find out how long your stay will be in the house, the BMW house, Better Men Working. Once we have this house established, I've also created the curriculum that will be administered to the candidates in this program. And the curriculum that I have set up, it it makes you grow because at the end of the program, when you graduate, whether it be because it's going to be a 6 month or a year program,
Yeah.
whichever one you fall into. Because once we screen you, we'll know how long it'll take you to finish a business plan. Because before you graduate, you have to have a workable business plan that you created. And this business will be funded upon graduation. And we will support this business because it is under the umbrella of BMW, Better Men Working. So we're going to have the support of all the executives and everything because once I set up a linkage agreement with SCORE, which is a nonprofit organization that involves leaders of the community, politicians, business people, professional people in all areas. So if I need uh, to have uh, a, a seminar based on uh, conflict resolution, because a lot of people need to learn that conflict resolution, stopping conflicts before they start. And the way we gonna do it is your mouth, what you say, the tone you use, the vibrations that you give out. All those things either fuel you to become angry or fuel you to be happy. The words that you choose, the tone that you use, and how you address people and act around people, that will set the precedent for you to be able to follow. And once you have gotten to that point where you know what you wrote down, you know how to run a gas station because this is what you chose to be a owner of, a gas station. So we're going to have other gas station owners to come in and have seminars with the guests, with the participants that will teach them things that they're going to run into in the business. Say you have construction, you know how to build things. So we'll create a construction company behind your idea. And we'll get all your ideas from you in the screening in the beginning. We'll find out what your likes are, we'll find out what your hobbies are, and we'll find out what you don't like. Because if I know what you don't like, I can pretty much get to what you will like. Because one thing the car business taught me is that no ain't no. No is never no. It's just a stall tactic that people use because they don't know how to logically exchange with you. So they'll shut that down, either because they don't know how to negotiate, either because they are intimidated by your intellect, or either they're intimidated by your dress or your speech, your dialect. They'll choose what they're gonna do when they meet you. They'll choose how they react around you. So for someone to come up to me and just wanna, become physical, with me, fight me or whatever, there's gotta be a reason. There's gotta be something that caused that. Cause and effect. We have to work that out. Once we work that cause and effect out, then we'll know how to decrease situations. So in the process, you'll know how to deal with conflicts when you approach them, whether it be in your home, at work, or in your leisure time. Because all those three areas are going to be affected. So that's why I said that's one of my goals of what I want to do with my life. Because once I get there, I know then the support that I'll need for the rest of my life will be there because I helped create it. If I can help in that situation of creation and then fruition, it's gonna always be there for me. If I put my hand up, I need help, they can come running to my aid. Everybody need that.
So let me
Everybody.
ask you, Andrew, what's the most important life lesson that you've learned so far up until this point?
People, people, man. Know how to read people. Know how to deal with people. If you can do that, know how to read people and know how to deal with people. When I say logically exchange with people, because you're not going to get nobody to side with you if logically they don't see it in their mind's eye. They'll never do it. You hear the helicopter coming now? I'm not joking, bro. I'm not kidding. 24 hours a day, they must know where I'm at. See it flying over my head? It ain't going in the opposite direction. It came right over my head because it got to see me. It has to see me. That's why I know I'm special. Ain't nobody else getting that type of surveillance. Ain't nobody else getting that type of uh, you know, thing happening to them every day. Don't nobody else get that. It's almost like I'm a terrorist or something. You know what I'm saying? And they waiting for me to do something. They'll wait until they can't even stand anymore. If they waiting on me to do something stupid, go rob somebody or do shit that I've done in my past. You know, again, I never mentioned this, but when I became a car salesman, I was on parole for carjacking. I had just come home from prison, 12 years, carjacking. I came home and got a job in the car industry, selling cars, on parole. The parole agent used to come to the job and drive around the lot. and just look, how the fuck did you get a job like this? And he asked me to show him a pay stub. I had been working there about 6 months then. He asked me to give him my most recent pay stub. Just so happened that week I had sold about 4 or 5 cars. So my check was almost $4,000 for that week.
Wow.
For the week. And when I showed him that pay stub, it totally changed this dude. Instead of him being a parole agent that will help you, this guy became a parole agent that hated me because of how much money I was making. And he knew I was making 3 times as much as he was in law enforcement. He didn't like that. And knew that I was on parole for carjacking and working, selling cars, dealing with people's credit. He just couldn't understand how I did that. I said, man, that's the Most High at work, man. That ain't me. He told me to go apply. Because I denied myself before I went and applied. I said, man, they ain't gonna hire me, man. I'm on parole, man, for carjacking, man. But then my mind's eye told me, okay, that happened before. Now you go make a new start for yourself. Go there and apply. The Most High had worked it out so well for me, man. Look, the general manager had just got there. He had been there about 2 months. He was married to a black woman. She had 4 brothers. They were all into all kind of things. He changed them. He cleaned them up. He got them jobs in the car industry selling cars. All 4 of them became successful. Never looked back. And so he said to himself, he made a promise. He said, I'm going to hire as many black men as I can in these dealerships because there are none. There was none of us there in those dealerships. You go to 5 dealerships, you might find one black person working in there as a salesman. Now they're all over because now they know how much, we can sell. So all those things I've talked about, man, was just a small part of my life. It would probably take, man, months to unravel all the things, man, that's in my mind.
Well, let me ask you, if you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
Number one wish we have is to have peace. I like to have peace and order in my life. And number two is I'd like to have a son or a girl. And number three is I'd like to be able to forgive everybody that have harmed me and for me to be forgiven for the harm that I have done to other people.
So, what's some advice that you want to give to the people watching this video, who are going to be watching this video?
Well, the advice that I could give to the people who are watching this video is never lose faith in man. Because man, he is the image and likeness of the Creator. If somebody made me in an image and a likeness of something, that means it's a carbon copy of it, pretty much. Because the imagery is what I see. Likeness is what I feel. So if I know I look like the Most High and I feel like the Most High, then I have all power that the Most High has. Because that's what he ordained for me. And I want to step into that.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate your time, and thank you for taking time out of whatever you were doing to sit down and talk to me.
Yeah, not a problem.